So you have your template for your CO2 Dragster. What next? Well, we need to draw our one-to-one scale drawing on our squared paper. Now what I've already done here is I've drawn out my side view. I've marked my axle points where I'm going to drill holes, and note that they are 1 square up from the bottom. That means there will be enough room for the little eyelets on the bottom of the dragster. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, stick it onto my template using some spray adhesive, and then we'll go from there. All right, so spray adhesive out of the way, stuck our template, our one-to-one scale template, onto the Paulonia. Now you'll notice I've got quite a lot of material here I need to remove. Now I can use a variety of tools for this, but the first thing I'm going to do is use the drill press to drill 2 holes for our axles. So now that we have our axle holes drilled, we need to think about which tools that we can use to shape this dragster body. So one of the tools we could use is a tenon saw, and one of the tools we could use is a rasp. You could use a file, and we'll definitely use some sandpaper later on. Now, when we're using a tenon saw can only cut straight lines, and it can only go down a certain depth because of the top of the tenon saw. So realistically, I'm only going to be able to cut this deep. But what I can do is cut lots of relief cuts and then chop the other way to remove this material. So when we are using a tenon saw, it's really important we use a cutting board as well, just to make it nice and safe. So you just open up the vise, the board just goes in, and you just gently do up the vise until it just stops it moving around. Now the way we want to do this is hold it nice and tight here and cut down this way. That way our fingers aren't right next to the blade and it's a bit safer. So what I intend on doing is doing some cuts down here as deep as I can, and then we'll be able to just turn it over and cut in this way, and all those relief cuts will help the material just fall out. So when we're using the tenon saw, you can start off with a little backstroke if you like, just to get yourself a groove, and then as with any saw, we can just go nice gentle strokes. Try to use the whole saw blade if you can. Okay, so there's one of our first relief cut. And I can just carry on doing cuts down here, and then we can try doing some cuts the other way. Okay, so keep your hands out of the way, maybe over here, and just gently, without pushing up here because we don't want to slip and cut ourselves, letting the saw do the work, cut across this way, and this is going to remove sections of your material. So as you can see, we've got our initial shape, and what we're going to do now is use a rasp. This is a rasp. It's got a rough texture on the surface, almost spiky. It's different to a file because a file is smoother and it's going to remove less material. So you use a rasp first, and we can just use it in an up and down motion to remove material. It removes quite a lot of material quite fast and is going to be one of our main shaping tools. So in quite a short time, I managed to almost smooth that initial cut shape out. Okay, so here are the two tools that you could use for helping shape your dragster body. We can use our tenon saw with our cutting board to cut straight lines and do those relief cuts. And then we can use our rasp to do a lot of the shaping work. After we've initially got this shape, then we'll move on to sandpaper. So, a rasp and a tenon saw.